up. President Trump stirs up confusion and controversy in his second week in office. Chicago's mayor under fire for his gift closet in City Hall. A day without immigrants. Chicago businesses take part in a nationwide movement. Plus, freezing rain makes for dangerous roads in the area. Thornton Township wants to hold virtual meetings after this violence. And backlash after the mayor's office tries to censor video from a meeting. I'm Natalie Bumpke, and this is your Fox 32 Weekend Review.
First, we want to say Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was the first foreign leader to visit the White House during this Trump's second term. And it was after that meeting and during a joint news conference that the president dropped a bit of a bombshell, declaring that the U.S. wants to take ownership of the Gaza Strip and relocate Palestinians. Now, he talked about the U.S. taking charge for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons. And he also talked about how he sees the U.S. playing a role.
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent.
He described it as a Riviera of the Middle East. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu smiled and said Trump is bringing fresh ideas. World reaction, not good. Palestinians have called it a takeover and a violation of international law. We've reached out to local organizations. It's early. We haven't heard back yet. I suspect we'll have plenty of reaction by day's end. Back to you in the studio.
All right. Thank you, Roseanne. President Donald Trump is expected to sign an executive order that would dismantle the Department of Education. He says the move would cut down the size of the government and allow states to control education. Trump focused on the Department of Education several times during his last campaign. The order would require the DOE to be closed or defunded. Congress, though, would need to approve of the plan before it can go into effect.
The new Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, is facing some backlash. Lawmakers say that they're concerned over the amount of power that the billionaire has within the department. It comes after Musk decided to dismantle the United States Agency for International Development. Small Business Administration is expected to be another target on top of the Department of Education. Musk also has access to the Treasury Department's payment system. Democrats are currently working on a bill to limit his control.
The order redefines Title IX, Dawn Scott. The civil rights law bans sex discrimination in federally funded education programs. President Trump signed it at the White House with supporters and athletes watching today. It was one of the key talking points of his campaign.
From now on, women's sports will be only for women.
Critics say, including many local activists, that the president's order is misguided and unnecessary.
Some reason, people think that trans women and intersex people have an advantage in sport, when in actual fact there is no evidence for that.
Why is this an issue of such concern when the group being targeted is so disappearingly small?
The White House says the president wants the U.S. Olympic Committee and NCAA to follow his lead and not allow trans athletes to compete in women's events as well.
The mayor says he's following the rules when it comes to this closing the gifts he's received in office. And pretty soon, everyone will get to see those gifts for themselves. But there's a catch.
Johnson says he's following city ethics rules by keeping a logbook of gifts received and keeping those gifts in a closet. Closet, by the way, he says he's never actually set foot in. He says he's baffled by why the Inspector General chose this to investigate.
And the history of the city of Chicago, whether it's the OIG or any other individual, has ever asked to see the book log.
Last week, the IG report revealed investigators had to go undercover just to get a peek at a logbook of gifts. When they finally saw it, the book revealed the mayor had received plush items like Gucci cufflinks, nice shoes, and designer handbags. But the majority of the entries did not reveal the sender. Investigators were denied access into the closet.
The mayor's office response says that they will allow access in what they call a properly scheduled appointment. That is not what the law says, and that is not an effective accountability measure.
The city's top attorney, Corporation Counsel Mary Richardson Lowry, says starting next week, anyone in Chicago can see what's in the closet. Catch? The mayor's office plans to take video footage and throw it up online.
Those things are going to be posted publicly so the public knows there's on this list of gifts what came in.
IG Deborah Witzberg told Fox 32 this evening she applauds the improvement but says it's not good enough. Those gifts are city property, she says, and investigators should be able to see them with their own eyes.
This idea gained traction on social media over the last several days, and today entrepreneurs, employees, and students across the nation decided to act.
This is the United States of America, right? This is a country that was founded on immigrants.
Standing in solidarity with immigrant communities, dozens of businesses across the city and suburbs set out to demonstrate the impact immigrants have on the economy by keeping their lights off.
The Latino influence on the economy is incredible. If Latinos were a country, we would be the 5th largest economy in the world.
Usually open Monday, those shops ranged from Don Churro in Pilsen to Wagner's Bakery on the Lower West Side, pet stores and hair salons, to a candy shop in Little Village. Colores Mexicanos on Michigan Avenue also went dark. The owner of Churro, who operates multiple locations, taking to Instagram to share that his father immigrated to the U.S. in 1970 in search of a better life, adding, by pausing our operations, we want their voices to be heard and advocate for a more inclusive society, one that recognizes the contributions of immigrants to our culture and economy. President and CEO of the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Jaime DiPaolo, tells us the organization is in full support of the movement.
It's a wonderful cause,
but feels it would be more impactful if larger corporations who hire immigrant workers also participated.
The impact is minimal, unfortunately, because it's really affecting our own businesses. Our office is at the Merchandise Mart here, a wonderful building, and I just went downstairs to the food hall and 100% staffed by Hispanic workers.
A Day Without Immigrants was originally held 8 years ago to protest President Trump's plans to build a wall at the time. Now concern has returned, this time amid mass deportations and ICE raids that have entered a third week.
Let's do a day supporting Latino small businesses. How about that?
As part of the movement, several marches were also held across the area today, including in Little Village and West Chicago.
As you just mentioned, this was no ordinary heist. Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart calling this, quote, a widely sophisticated, organized operation. As you just mentioned, more than $1 million in merchandise. Take a look.
We got Nike involved and New Balance, and they were able to do their analysis of it. And this is all legit. There's no knockoffs. This is all real stuff, and as they say, wildly expensive stuff.
This is 26-year-old Eric Luciano Bautista, now facing felony theft charges. And here's all of the alleged stolen merchandise, including thousands of pairs of retro Jordan 3s and 12s, also New Balance gym shoes. The Cook County Sheriff's crime investigators executed a search warrant at a warehouse located at 15th and Western this past Friday. That's when the shoes were recovered. The Sheriff's office says Luciano Bautista was not an authorized seller. Cook County's crime unit has recovered over $4.5 million in stolen merchandise over the last 9 months. Earlier today, via Zoom, Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart would not disclose where exactly the shoes were stolen from, but he was forthcoming in sharing their store value and even their street value.
Exactly where this was going to go. A lot of the stuff goes online at times. Other times there's an attempt to resell it at different locations. So we're not 100% sure what the end game was here, but I can tell you that this was all legitimate product that was destined for a store that these folks got, and were, as I said, going to be selling $1 million worth of this stuff. And if you go online, I mean, like a lot of the New Balance stuff that we got, those shoes are sold out anywhere. So the only way you can go is to try to get them online somewhere. And some of them, individual pair of shoes are going for $2,500.
Sheriff Tom Dart also saying Luciano Bautista did not act alone. It's believed that multiple people were involved in this. Over the weekend, Luciano Bautista did appear before a judge at 26 in California and was released from custody pending trial. Of course, we'll continue to follow this story and keep you updated on air and online.
The Trump Justice Department says these sanctuary laws are standing in the way of immigration agents doing their job, even though ICE agents were able to step up their enforcement last week. It's an escalation in the federal government's blitz on Chicago and Illinois, announcing yesterday it would withhold federal funding from sanctuary cities like Chicago.
This president has posed tremendous threats to, many of the sensibilities within our democracy. I'm going to continue to stand up and fight for the interests of working people in this city. That includes our immigrant population.
The lawsuit filed in federal court today states the challenge provisions of Illinois, Chicago, and Cook County law reflect their intentional effort to obstruct the federal government's enforcement of federal immigration law and impede consultation and communication between federal, state, and local law enforcement officials that is necessary for federal officials to carry out federal immigration law and keep Americans safe. In a statement, the governor's office responded, quote, "Unlike Donald Trump, Illinois follows the law. The bipartisan Illinois Trust Act, signed into law by a Republican governor, has always been compliant with federal law and still is today." And Illinois Senate Republican leader John Curran responded to the governor's response with this, saying he strongly urges Democratic leaders, quote, "to quit impeding law enforcement's ability to cooperate and assist federal authorities with removing violent criminals who are here in Illinois illegally." The sanctuary policies prohibit local law enforcement from assisting federal immigration agents and also from asking immigration status. Immigration officials have detained more than 13,000 non-citizens since 2016, despite sanctuary protections. IIT Chicago-Kent College of Law professor Harold Krent says the laws do permit some cooperation.
ICE agents can't enter prisons, can't enter schools unless there is an actual warrant. And from the Fed's perspective, that is impeding the ability of ICE agents to conduct their affairs.
The Trump Justice Department withheld funding from Chicago in 2017 based on sanctuary city policies. The city sued the federal government and won.
Coming up, freezing rain makes a mess of our roads and sidewalks. After a huge fight, Thornton Township wants a major change. And the mayor's office accused of trying to censor a tense meeting.
I'm Nate Rogers in Peatone. Got to tell you, the roads are indeed icy right here in Peatone. We noticed that freezing rain that began to start coming down around 8 p.m. last night. And so, again, slippery road conditions. The temperatures also beginning to drop. Now, the major concern that our meteorologists have indeed been informing you about is that freezing rain. And with the freezing rain, its impact, including slippery roads, bridges, and of course overpasses, you definitely want to prepare for travel delays and road closures during this morning's commute. Also, potential power outages if conditions become too treacherous. Now, authorities expect the peak icing period to last through midnight as of yesterday, but it still could have a lasting effect throughout the morning. Chicago's Department of Streets and Sand deployed salt spreaders to treat city streets early on. Also, the Illinois Tollway reminding drivers to slow down and stay alert. They'll have a full fleet of nearly 200 plows de-icing roads. In addition, South Shore train lines issuing an advisory saying ice can adversely impact tracks, overhead wires, and other mechanical components. As a result, icebreaker trains will run early morning and during rush hour. Now, we do know that train operations are expected to proceed as scheduled. However, all of us should indeed allow some extra time during this morning's commute. In addition, we know that ComEd will have additional resources in place in fear that ice could potentially weigh down power lines, and so they definitely want to make sure that they can address that. We'll be sure to continue to monitor these conditions and keep you updated on air and online.
And an update. After a wild fight ended last week's Thornton Township board meeting, a lawyer for the board is asking the state to allow them to hold remote meetings for the time being. Township Attorney Michael Delgado sent a letter this week to Illinois Governor Pritzker and Attorney General Kwame Raoul asking them for a waiver of the Open Meetings Act that would allow the meetings to be held on Zoom instead. Delgado says the board believes that given the current political climate in the township, which is led by controversial Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, It would be best that people meet remotely and not in person.
We are concerned not only for the safety of the public, but for reporters who attend, for the elected officials and staff themselves, that there would be a repeat of what occurred last Tuesday, which was a fight. To understate it, it was more than a fight, and it could have been a real catastrophe. And so we're asking for the governor to allow for remote meetings.
The board's attorney is asking for remote meetings until May 19th, when a newly elected township board will be sworn in. So far, neither the governor nor the AG have responded. The next Thornton Township meeting is in 3 weeks.
The irony is the mayor's office is accused of attempting to censor a meeting about censorship. This after city clerk Ana Valencia says a video of the meeting was improperly taken down from public view. The video in question features Tuesday's council hearing about controversial art at the Cultural Center. It devolved into chaos after 25th Ward Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez appeared to call 34th Ward Alderman Bill Conway a, quote, white supremacist.
This is about the process.
Flag, we didn't have to fund that.
Okay.
We didn't have to fund it.
Okay, all right.
White
supremacist. Stop it. Stop it.
After a few moments, Alderman Anthony Napolitano and Nick Spazzato call out Sigcho Lopez for his comments and toss him from the meeting.
White supremacist.
Who said that?
Get him out of here.
Who said that?
He did. Sigcho Lopez just called.
Did you say that?
I said
You did.
I said that continue to run the process. What is this then?
You should be out of here.
This is a joke.
This is a joke. You should be out of here.
You are a joke.
Okay.
You are a joke.
Gotta go. You gotta go.
Last evening, the video was nowhere to be found on the clerk's website. Valencia says a mayoral staffer improperly asked for the video to be edited, and a clerk employee took the video down. Valencia says she did not approve and immediately put the video back up on Wednesday. Quote, I am, always have been, and always will be committed to building transparency and trust with our residents, and will ensure this does not happen again, Valencia said in a statement. We are here as public servants to ensure our residents have complete access to their government. As long as I am here, that will remain. Immediately after the meeting recessed, Sigcho Lopez and Conway went into a private room with top mayoral staffer Jason Lee and cleared the air.
Well, we've been talking about the nationwide bus driver shortage for quite some time, but in this case, here in Homer Glen, it could actually have an impact on important learning inside the classroom. Just last week, 18 bus drivers were out, some for medical leave, others were sick, and it simply meant that students had to wait at school, many of them, for the second round of pickups, meaning they were delayed on their way home. Now, parents, they are feeling a little uneasy about this.
I think it's a little bit, it's inconvenient, especially in the winter because it's so cold outside.
Now, last week when that happened, bus mechanics had to get behind the wheel, even dispatchers. Officials in Homer Community Consolidated School District 33C, they are asking parents to help recruit drivers as they scramble to fill a critical staffing gap, one that could leave students stranded or significantly delayed in the classrooms. The problem isn't just about getting kids home. Morning pickups are also at risk, meaning some students may not make it to school on time. With nearly 100% of the district's 3,700 students relying on bus transportation, Superintendent Craig Shoppy says they're doing everything they can to keep the situation from spiraling.
Yeah, they would miss part of their first period class, which is obviously not ideal. I think our parents are helping us advertise and get the word out. As you mentioned earlier, the letter that we sent home, that was not the first time we've shared with our parents that we are looking for drivers. So hopefully they're out there talking to family, grandparents, anybody that might be interested in driving a bus for us.
And that letter was sent to all parents. That happened just this Monday. Now, in terms of the jobs, there are 7 vacancies that need to be filled for bus drivers. The pay starts at $23 an hour, and it is paid training for that, and it also comes with benefits. If you want to apply, you can go to homerschools.org.
Well, it is the 40-year anniversary of the 85 Bears winning the Super Bowl, which they still widely regarded as one of the best teams in NFL history. So much so, former Bears offensive lineman Tom Thayer would choose the 85 Bears over this year's Chiefs team going for a three-peat. They're strong in the trenches. They had a run game led by Walter Payton. And Lou caught up with some members of the 85 Bears and asked, what do the 2025 Bears need to do to compete in a Super Bowl?
I think you solidify the offense and defensive line. You get some components to help guys like Montez Sweat and Javon Dexter and Andrew Billings. And then you bring in a super competitive alpha male atmosphere on the offensive line. I think they're ready to go. But to me, and I think if you look at the history of the Chicago Bears, it's always going to be about priority up front.
We're a little ways away, you know. I think that, you know, bringing somebody in that can help them yet be consistent on being the best that you can be week in and week out. The game is all about those guys that you play with, not worrying about those fans. So that's Chicago. You have to understand, you have to bring something, and that's part of that team have to have a commitment to be the best that they can be. And to me, we always said, no one can beat our offensive line but us.
We expected last season to see this progression. We didn't see it, but you know that's what I think Bear fans should expect. Is it going to happen next year? No. I think you should expect to be able to say the Super Bowl within 3 years would be a legitimate goal.
Now this is what I'm talking about. You wanna try it, bite it, lick it, spit it, put this aside and get all up in it, wear and post it. Hey! I think he's with it.
That was a look at Charlie XCX closing out the Grammys. The 67th annual Grammy Awards took place last night. Not just to honor all the best musical acts, but to also honor those first responders who have been so important to the ongoing wildfires out in L.A. last night.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of people were watching the show last night to sort of see, okay, can we do this? And I actually, It was a late night. The Grammys tend to go a little bit long, but it actually was a great show. It was one of the better Grammys I've seen in a long time. So at a time when people are questioning whether or not we should even have an award show with everything going on in regards to wildfire relief, we got a really great example of how a show can be both entertainment while also being sensitive to what's going on in the world. We got some incredible performances last night. We showed you how the night was capped off with a Charlie XCX really having kind of an onstage rave, just one of what were several show-stopping performances throughout the night.
And I got this one boy, and he won't stop calling. When they act this way, when they act this way.
So I like this a lot. Sabrina Carpenter bringing down the house with a really fun reimagining of her hits Espresso and Please, Please, Please. What I liked about this one was kind of the self-deprecating sense of humor. Sabrina kept kind of messing up or having problems with her performance. It was all planned out, of course, but it really added a lot of kind of unserious charm to the performance.
God, what have you done? You're a pink pony girl, and you dance at the club. Mama, I'm just having fun.
Chappell Roan continues to remind people why she was the most talked about performance at Lollapalooza in Chicago last summer. The winner of Best New Artist had the crowd singing along to Pink Pony Club. And in her acceptance speech, she actually urged record labels to help new and emerging artists with livable wages and health care.
Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
And in one of the most moving moments of the night, the Grammys tribute to music icon Quincy Jones was really a jaw dropper and a showstopper. It's really hard to sum up the impact of Jones' legacy in just one segment, but the Grammys did it very well between Wicked star Cynthia Erivo, Janelle Monáe, Will Smith, and others. Quincy Jones' impact on the industry was really exemplified here and served as a reminder that he was a once-in-a-generation kind of talent. And guys, as you know, Beyonce got finally album of the year, the big award of the night. Right. And if you want to celebrate with her, we got some big news. Beyonce has announced she's going on tour, the Cowboy Carter Tour, and it's coming to Soldier Field on May 15th and the 17th, the Cowboy Carter Tour.
Well, golf legend Tiger Woods is mourning the death of his mother, Coltita Woods, this morning. A special hug between Tiger and his mom is now making its rounds on social media. Tiger also credited his mom for the reason why he wears red on Sundays at all the events that he plays in. In a statement, the golf icon called his mom a force of nature, his biggest fan and greatest supporter. Clotilda Woods was born in Thailand and met Tiger's dad, Woods, while he was stationed there during his time in the Army. Tiger did not share the cause of death when announcing this news on his X page. She was last seen at her son's indoor TGL match last week. She was 78 years old.
Coming up, Chicago's only black-owned skating rink rolls into history. Bears owner Virginia McCaskey dies at age 102. And a Chicago icon in the restaurant scene is back.
The only black-owned skating rink in Illinois has touched lives for decades.
In tonight's special report, Terrence takes us inside the iconic space.
Dawn and Scott, think back to a place that made you feel like you belonged. Now imagine it being paved over by a trucking lot. That almost happened in the Chatham neighborhood. But when you step inside, you'll see why the rink still stands.
This is our wall of fame.
People leave a piece of themselves in the places that matter most. This wall is one of those places, echoes of laughter, triumph, and the kind of connection that never fades.
It's been here like 25, 30 years. When people come into the rink, they look up and they go, oh, there's my auntie. Oh, there's my cousin.
Long before Ramona and Curtis Pouncey took ownership of the rink in 2019, they spent countless evenings here.
Cross.
Date night spent floating across the floor, falling into the music, falling into each other.
How long have you guys been married?
You want to answer that? Get it right.
39 years. 39
years. In March.
More than a decade before they skated into forever, the rink opened on June 10th, 1975, at its first location over on South Ashland Avenue. This article captured the promise of a space built for black families to gather and grow together. By 1983, the rink outgrew that space, its roots needing a fresh plot that could conduct flourishing energy.
The building itself, it used to be an old electrical company, and they did their manufacturing thing here. This was their corporate office as well. And Nate Simpson and Carmen Simpson, the founders of the rink, came in and just started a major conversion.
Converting an old warehouse on East 87th Street into the new heartbeat of the community. For 45 years, the Simpsons kept the pulse strong. But when the time came to pass the rink on, they needed someone who already moved to its rhythm. The Pounceys did.
We cannot let this rink go because we knew it would devastate our community. And that's why I said it's bigger than us. And so we had to buckle down, and make a plan and decide and be determined how to bring this rink back to its glory.
That determination did more than save the rink. It brought back its magic. Sleeker flooring, shinier lights, softer carpet, and stronger lockers.
Once that was done and the skaters came back, we had grown men in their 60s skating around here with tears in their eyes.
The emotion spins beyond these walls, gliding on screen.
Hey guys. Hey, Andrea. Hey Kev.
Rolling onto sport's biggest stage.
We had a couple skaters here that skated at our rink, and they were actually in the Super Bowl last year with Usher skating.
And circling through the music industry.
Wilco did their video here.
They saw the JB style skating from the videos.
Right.
And they said, we want JB style skating in our rock video.
In our rock and roll video.
JB, short for James Brown. Blends footwork, flair, and funk. A style born in Chicago and now seen across the globe.
We'll get people that will come here from London, China, all over the world, saying, I saw the videos, and I want to learn that JB skating style. Right. And they will come here and stay for an entire week and come every single day that we're open to pick up that style.
The rink does more than teach skating. It teaches possibility. Kids step on the floor unsure of themselves and leave knowing exactly who they are.
It has kept them out of trouble, from joining gangs to getting involved with drugs. and just put them on the right path.
Curtis and I, we might see some young people that are here every week and they look a little down. You know, it's nothing for us to go over and say, what's going on with you? You don't have to tell me exactly what's going on, but we want you to know that we care about you, and whatever it is, you're going to get through this. We've seen people, you know, they might be into, you know, drugs or the wrong friends. I'm like, come here. You know, you hanging around the wrong people. You doing too much right now, so you need to stop it. And I'll be straight up with them.
Growing up, Michelle Harris also found guidance at the rink.
When you have places like this, they create an identity for you.
Now, as 8th Ward Alderman, Harris fights to preserve what shaped her and honor its legacy.
They create memories, which are certainly really important in developing who you become as an adult.
50 years is incredible for any business, let alone a black business. Talk about what this milestone means for the neighborhood and the community.
So this is one of the only African-American owned skating rinks, probably in the state. So when you think about what it means, it's iconic, because to survive 50 years is amazing, number one. But secondly, to survive 50 years in the African-American community, it means that you have jumped through hurdles, you have climbed tall mountains with a single bound. You have been Superman in this industry, and you're still here.
Not just here, but unbreakable. Like the connection the rink forges for all these faces and those who now call Chicago home. The kind of connection that never fades and always rolls forward.
We want to have the rink as an extension into our community, and what that looks like, we're open for it. And that's where we want to bring it for the next 50 years.
Curtis and Ramona, who is a certified holistic nutritionist, want to turn the rink into a hub for wellness, education, and mentorship. Before they look ahead, they want to look back. This June, they're planning a weekend filled with tributes to the generations who kept the rink alive. As soon as plans are finalized, they'll update us, and we'll post all that information on our website, fox32chicago.com. Donna, I know you have some fond memories there as well.
Oh, yes. I mean, growing up, birthday parties there all the time. I was there a lot. I mean, we all remember it.
Have you been recently?
I have not.
They have kind of changed the menu, offering healthier options, going with her holistic nutrition approach, but nachos, sweet potato nachos with cashew cheese. Oh,
wow.
Fantastic. I hurt myself eating so fast.
I'll have to go back. Thanks, Terrence.
Got it.
That was
Nice.
great.
Like see you two on a couple skates.
We begin with the death of the longtime owner of the Bears, Virginia McCaskey. Soldier Field lit up in her honor tonight as the city and all of the NFL pay tribute to her decades of leadership and love of the game. McCaskey has been guiding the Bears for more than 4 decades, leading the organization since her father and founder of the team, George Halas, died in 1983.
Lou joining us now with more on her remarkable legacy.
Yeah, an icon for the organization, that's for sure. Virginia McCaskey was called the First Lady of not only the Bears, but the NFL. No one witnessed more pro football history than Virginia McCaskey, daughter of George Halas, born in 1923, less than 3 years after her father founded the Decatur Staleys and eventually the NFL. Virginia McCaskey passed away today at the age of 102. Virginia McCaskey was alive for 8 of the Bears' 9 world championships. She reluctantly took over the leadership role of the Bears after her only brother, Muggs Halas, died of a heart attack in 1979, and her father passed away in 1983. Virginia oversaw the Bears' 9th world championship and first Super Bowl title in 1986. She quietly called the shots, but her voice was respected, not only at Halas Hall, but around the NFL. The McCaskey family released a statement today saying, while we are sad, we are comforted knowing Virginia Halas McCaskey lived a long, full, faith-filled life and is now with the love of her life on earth. I caught up with Bears legend Dan Hampton, former coach Dave Wanstead, and 45-year Bears media member Hub Arkush, who shared their feelings about the passing of Virginia McCaskey.
If there was ever a figurehead after Mr. Halas passed, it was Virginia. And she was the grand old lady of all Chicago sports, of all the NFL. And it's a sad day for Chicago sports, but to know that she lived so long and loved the Chicago Bears for so much of her life it's just a glorious thing. Ultimate Bears fan. I'll tell you, it's a loss obviously for the McCaskey family, but I'll tell you what, Lou, it's a loss for the city of Chicago, and it's a loss for the National Football League. Everybody respected Virginia McCaskey, and she truly never got into the big entourage. I'm the owner of the Bears. My dad founded this league and on. I mean, she always was very steady, kind of very independent, and carried herself with a lot of pride. And I think that's how the families try to operate.
One thing people didn't know about Virginia McCaskey, she knew football. She really knew the game, and she studied every play of every game, no matter what the score was, and never missed one. And she's just an exceptional person, a real loss for the city. I think a real loss for the NFL, because it's the Halas family. You know, it's the game itself. There is no better known organization, more respected organization, and that's true, respected in the NFL. I'm not talking amongst fans or what they've won or lost. And, 102 years is a pretty good bet for anybody, but it's still just very sad to see her go.
It was 2012 when this famous building at 816 West Armitage closed its doors for good, leaving behind a reputation and a legacy made famous by the iconic chef Charlie Trotter.
This is the room I'm dubbing Charlie's room because we kept it as historical as possible.
Today, it is being brought back to life by his only child, Dylan.
People under 40 don't know who Charlie Trotter was, but we need to look to the past to see that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And what they did, they walked so we could run. And what my father did was very monumental.
Flavors wafted up as I pour it over. This is just outrageous. And there are so many possibilities. We're gonna go and make this thing.
For 25 years, Charlie Trotter's restaurant in Lincoln Park would draw people from all over the world who would fly in to Chicago just to try his famous tasting menu.
Gorgeous.
Trotter was a visionary. He is set to be the first in many areas when it comes to the restaurant world, including the first to create a vegetarian tasting menu and the first to put a chef's table in the kitchen.
He never went to culinary school, so he didn't know the rules, and therefore he could break the rules and form something new.
This is the original kitchen?
Yes, with all the original equipment from 1996.
Today, there are cooks in the kitchen once again in a temporary pop-up that is being hosted by Chicago's famous 3-star Alinea restaurant. Chef Grant Achatz was trained by Charlie Trotter himself. It is a full circle moment, as many stories have been told that Achatz and Trotter were on the outs when he died of a stroke at the age of 54 in 2013.
Near the end of my dad's life, they did make up and were friends, and my dad invited Chef Achatz over to his house for multiple parties with the Chicago restaurant community and really made him feel welcome and part of the community.
This pop-up is all about memories and restoration. The menu is 10 courses inspired by Trotter's first 5 cookbooks, and the restaurant has been painstakingly updated so you are taken back in time.
If you look around this room, we have the original wallpaper from 1987, the original sconces, the original dining room chairs.
Dylan even restored the kitchen using parts he purchased from eBay, including for this French range that is no longer made.
Painstakingly restored to its original purpose.
How does it make you feel to see this kitchen alive again?
It's unbelievable. It's very moving. Never thought I'd see the day.
For now, Trotters will only be open until February 9th. Tickets for the 2-week pop-up sold out in an hour, so they added another couple of weeks. For Dylan, who grew up in this restaurant, the experience isn't just nostalgic for him, but also for customers lucky enough to get in and share countless stories of the past.
There's a couple from Dallas that flew in and said that it was their they were on their 3rd date here back in 2008 when they said "I love you" to each other. And they heard that this opened back up. They immediately booked it to fly all the way here.
The pop-up has brought not only customers back together, but former friends and chefs trained under Trotter as well. So what's next? Dylan is still trying to figure that out. His goal is to eventually open the restaurant permanently, but he hasn't figured out in what form just yet.
This is only the beginning. There are 12 cookbooks that my dad wrote. There's 3 textbooks that he wrote, and you know, thousands and thousands of unique menus and recipes, and just a philosophy of beginning conversations with people about passion and pursuing excellence and just what drives you in life.
What do you think your dad would think of this?
I think this is what other people tell me. They think that my dad would be proud of me for starting this up again and taking a chance and show off the space that he created and this legacy that he cemented.
Sylvia Perez, Fox 32, Chicago.
Coming up, spiders get up close with creepy crawlies. An anniversary for the man-eating lions of the Field Museum. And a local woman turning dollar store finds into high fashion.
Well, hopefully when you leave here, you can leave that fear of the creepy crawly spiders behind. At least that's their hope. But they do have some creepy critters. Take a look at some of the spiders in this arachnid exhibit at the Peggy Notebart Nature Museum. They are truly amazing. They are also hairy with lots of legs. So joining me this morning, let's start with Jeff Worthall. And Jeff is with the Peggy Notebart Nature Museum. Jeff, thank you for talking to us.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here.
So tell us a little bit about, you told us the general idea of, teaching people about these fascinating creatures and maybe lose their fear. And tell me how kids react. Do they necessarily have a fear? I feel like I've learned that over the years.
Kids are fearless. Kids are more interested than anything else, and really they take their cues from the adults. So if the adults act interested and aren't afraid, then the kids aren't going to worry about anything.
Okay, I know what you mean. We got to be less spooked by them. And look at their amazing features. Now, Kat Chorney is with us this morning as well, Little Ray's Exhibitions is behind this exhibit. What have you here, Kat?
This right here is actually one of the tarantula species that's native to the United States. She's called an Arizona blonde, and the blonde is obviously from her color, but you can find her down in the southwestern U.S. and into the north parts of Mexico.
Well, I hope I never run into one of those running loose. But here, they are pretty interesting to look at. And there are opportunities to learn a lot more about all of the critters here. Tell us about that.
We do a number of presentations each day where we'll talk for a couple minutes and bring someone out to see or tell you about something in the habitat. My spiders are still kind of adjusting right now, so everybody's a little bit nervous. So we talk a lot right now about their body language, how you know that they don't want to be held or if they do. And there's lots of little interactive kind of things you can do around the exhibit with kids. There's a place where you can build webs and climb on a web. We've got some big statues of the spiders around.
Yeah, the jumping spider. That one looks creepy too.
I love him.
Yeah.
We also usually have some videos playing showing like a spider molting, so you can watch that process. And I've got a little dance step thing over here where you can learn about the tarantella.
Well, great. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. Definitely a great ambassador for arachnids and sort of putting us all at ease to learn a little bit more about these spiders that we live with. I'll toss it back to you guys in the studio.
It was exactly 100 years ago today that the Field Museum received these guys. Take a look. The famous, or perhaps I should say infamous, man-eating lions of Tsavo.
Over a 9-month period, people were being removed from their tents at night by lions.
A polite way of saying that people were being turned into dinner by these two big cats who've been top attractions at the Field Museum since 1925.
People have a fascination with man-eating animals, and these two are probably the most famous man-eating cats known.
Famous enough to have a movie made about them. The Ghost in the Darkness tells the story of how the two lions terrorized workers building a bridge in the Tsavo region of Kenya back in 1898, killing and eating at least 28 people, and probably many more.
Originally disappearing, but in short order it was realized that they were being killed, dragged out, screaming. You could hear the lions in these dense thorn thickets, munching away.
With workers fleeing the worksite, head engineer Colonel J.H. Patterson, an experienced big game hunter, tied dead cattle to a tree stand and eventually shot and killed both lions, then sent the hides and skulls to his home in England, where they were turned into rugs. In 1925, Patterson sold the remains to the Field Museum, which taxidermied the hides back to life.
Just even to kind of Frankenstein those back together is something that most really good taxidermists were not capable of doing.
And even after a century, scientists here at the Field continued to learn more about the lions, DNA analysis showing they were brothers. And out of this broken canine tooth, they've extracted hair fragments showing their diet, including human hairs. In fact, this painful tooth might explain in part the lion's hunger for people.
If they can't eat normal prey with this severely broken canine, might that be a reason to turn to people? Sure. People are softer, easier, and less likely to escape your jaws.
Now, the research into the Tsavo lions continues even now, with scientists here at the Field hoping to use DNA analysis to determine whether, in fact, there was a third man-eating lion as part of the pride.
Jasmine Dean is turning oversized dresses, comforters, and big shirts into jaw-dropping, high-end fashion statements. With millions of views and over 81,000 followers, she's proving that one woman, one needle, and a whole lot of creativity can turn fabric into fashion gold.
Mama said you can't hurry love. No, you just have to wait. She said love don't come easy. It's a game of give and take.
I know, I want that outfit too. This is the video. That was it. That launched Jasmine Dean, aka JD the Fashion Monster, into viral stardom. What started as an oversized Walmart dress turned into a 7 million view masterpiece. But her story started long before the internet even took notice. A Columbia College Chicago grad, Dean made a name for herself designing show-stopping prom gowns, sewing from her parents' basement before taking a leap of faith and opening up her own fashion studio. And then COVID hit. Proms were canceled, business stalled. With no clients, she turned to social media, but at first almost no one was watching. But still, Dean kept sewing. She kept going, kept posting, and kept creating. And then her world flipped. Now prom season is completely sold out. 55 girls are ready to wear one of her unforgettable designs. Dean says social media is helping her make a true living.
A video that I feel like took off that shocked me, it was the first one that I just started doing again back in October. So it was this old dress. Well, it looked, oh, I'm sorry. It was a dress that I got from Walmart, and I pretty much like had it in my car for months. And I was telling my friend that I was gonna revamp it, and it just took a long time because I was procrastinating. And then I just got it out of my car one day, and I made like a top, a skirt, and like a little jacket to go with it, and I posted it online.
And the hat. You can't forget the hat. You can find JD the Fashion Monster on Instagram. And if you want one of her dresses ahead of prom, there is a pop-up shop that will happen on March 1st and 2nd at 17255 Burnham Avenue in Lansing.
I am so excited about this. Super Bowl Sunday isn't just about the big game. A lot of folks tuning in for the fun and the creative commercials. Dave Plyer is the chairman of the board over at the Museum of Broadcast Communications. He's here to tell us about some of the absolute best Super Bowl commercials of all time. Dave, my man.
Nice to see you, Jake.
Nice to see you, dude.
Yep.
All right, so we have been having some arguments in the newsroom because you got a pretty incredible list of the top 20.
Yeah, right.
Right now, you got number one, you got the Coca-Cola Hey Kid Catch. An iconic one.
Mean Joe Green. And the big thing about that is it was one of the first viral, even though there wasn't social media, people still water cooler talked about this the next day, and it aired for like 2 years after that. And it's just a great connection between a celebrity and a kid, being a fan and connecting with, somebody you look up to.
Now, let me ask you this, because my favorite, and maybe it's just you and I were talking in the break, we're both kind of nerds, is your number two. It's Ridley Scott's Macintosh, the 1984. Maybe it's just a fan of Alien and Blade Runner. I absolutely love this one.
It was intense for that time.
Why did you choose that as number two as opposed to number one?
As much as I thought that was intense and it got people's attention, I think for the most part, the Mean Joe Green was a good feel.
Sure.
Like, as I said, intense. What world are we talking about? There's, the axe going through the screen.
Sure.
It's not as fun. I think when you have a football player that you really admire, and anyone can connect to that today, that it's something that I think just resonates with people. A kid and his favorite teammate.
You know, looking over this list, there are so many great ones, but I'm noticing a lot of them are from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 90s.
Yeah.
How do you think just the concept of what a Super Bowl commercial has changed over the last 50
the
years?
creativity, for
Yeah?
sure. And people
Up or down?
Oh, up for sure.
Really?
Oh, I think so too. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot more money spent on it too. So the production costs are another issue. So even though it cost $7 million to do the spots this year, one of them cost $8 million to produce. So you're going in $15 million, but you know, we're talking about it now. It's on social media. We're talking that it's been previewed for 2 weeks already. So it's already made its impact, and we'll be talking about it the week after the Super
And that's
Bowl.
a great point, because so many of the commercials that are going to air on Sunday, I've seen a lot of them so far. So is that sort of the new thing where it's like, well, to get our money's worth, we need to sort of start putting, we can't just save them for Monday.
Yeah, no, we're talking about it. And I love the fact that more and more are previewing them and not showing the entire commercial, because I want to really be excited to see it the day of the Super Bowl.
Right.
Because then we're going to talk about it for, again, another 5 days later. So it absolutely gets its bang for the buck.
Looking at some of these that you have on there, some of these are absolute classics. Where's the Beef, obviously, has got to be on there. The Monks, the Xerox ad is classic. Is the closest thing to maybe a modern-day classic? I always think back to the Darth Vader, the kid using the Force. That's the last one that I remember actually sort of seeing in recent memory that shows up on a lot of best.
But it was a feel-good. It was a feel-good. He's watching this kid, you know, being kind of fooled by his parents that he's got these superpowers. Same one was Betty White. The Betty White Snickers commercial also made a great impact. So it's been a while since we found one of those, but those are absolute classics.
Is there anything that you think, obviously there are going to be a lot of ads we're seeing for the first time on Sunday. Is the makings of a classic even possible today?
It is, and I think nostalgia is such a big, important role in television today. And that When Harry Met Sally reunion, now we've seen most of it already, but it's Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan, same spot at Katz's Deli in New York City. I think that one's going to create a lot of buzz too.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Natalie Bompke, and this has been your Fox 32 Week in Review. We'll see you again next week.